Aloha! Welcome to another episode of the Macro Podcast. I'm Randy Jung, a member of the Macro team here at the Military and Community Relations Office. Our podcast host and friend, Mr. Daniel Aipa, had something come up and he's unavailable today, which is why I'm filling in. And we're so happy today and blessed to have Colonel Jeremy Beaven, the commanding officer of Marine Corps Base Hawaii. Colonel Beaven, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Sir, can you tell us about, for listeners who aren't familiar, what's the mission of the United States Marine Corps, and how does that mission play out specifically here in Hawaii?
Sure. Well, the United States Marine Corps is America's expeditionary force in readiness. And so our mission is to be the most ready when the nation is least ready. Oftentimes we think of that in the terms of conflict, but really it can be any crisis. It can be climatological, it can be environmental, it can be humanitarian. But the Marine Corps comes with unique skills. And when you partner us with our naval forces, the Naval Expeditionary Force is a very powerful, timely, and responsive force that can respond to crisis at the direction of the President and Secretary of Defense. When we talk about our position here with Marine Corps Base Hawaii, our job is to posture those forces and to be a launching platform to support things, particularly in the Indo-Pacific theater of operations. And so whether we're talking about projecting power, producing readiness, promoting resiliency, or protecting the environment and our resources. All of those things come under my purview as the CEO of Marine Corps Base Hawaii, but it's to make sure that we are a responsive force able to respond to the needs that the nation calls us for.
Thank you for walking us through that. So you are the commanding officer, leadership of Marine Corps Base Hawaii. Can you tell us what other locations, other than the one that so many local folks are familiar with at Kaneohe, Marine Corps Base Hawaii, Kaneohe Bay, are there other locations on the island of Oahu and maybe even in the state that falls under your purview?
Sure. So Marine Corps Base Hawaii, I have all the Marine Corps installations in Hawaii. And so, as you said, most people think of Marine Corps Air Station Kaneohe Bay, but also Camp Smith, Marine Corps Training Area Bellows, Pualoa Range Training Facility. And there's some other parcels as well at Pearl Harbor. There's some parcels over on Molokai that come underneath my purview as the CEO of Marine Corps Base Hawaii.
Got it. And can you tell us about some of the programs that are happening at some of the other locations and installations?
Sure. Most of those support our training of the forces here that we use, our tenant units that are here aboard Marine Corps Base Hawaii, and in the work that they need to do to be able to respond to crisis. And so when you think of a training continuum for any job, but particularly those in the first responder type field, there are certain training things that you must do on a habitual basis. They are perishable skills. And so the training areas that I manage help support our warfighters as they prepare for conflict and crisis. And so most of the work that goes on in these areas, Marine Corps Training Area Bellows, for example, or Pualoa Range Training Facility, are those preparatory type actions that we need to make sure that our Marines are trained and prepared for crisis.
Yeah, practice makes, they like to say perfect, but nothing's perfect. But practice makes readiness. And that's what we need in case something happens. And you never know when that's going to be. Okay, so as you go about the business of protecting our nation and the state of Hawaii and the people who live here, what kind of cultural and environmental type of programs are Marines engaged in? Because, being in Hawaii, yes, any place you go into, you make it a special and unique place. But Hawaii being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, having the native Hawaiian culture that's weaved and rooted in so many of the things that we do, how does that play into the mission of the Marines here in Hawaii?
Well, for all of our facilities, but in particular, Marine Corps Air Station Kaneohe Bay, which is largely contained aboard the Makapu Peninsula. As you well know, that peninsula has just such rich history, culturally, environmentally, and historically important. And that precedes the military's arrival here. And so the opportunity that I have to be a steward of that is one that I take incredibly seriously. And when you look at the history of the Makapu Peninsula and its place in the native Hawaiian traditions with respect to some of the religious practices, with respect to some of the cultural traditions that have grown over time, it is a very significant parcel, and it's important that we are good stewards of that. And we have sites aboard the peninsula that date back to 1250 AD. And so when we talk about culture and history, that's one aspect, but also environmentally, the bay there, it is pristine, and we must do our part to preserve it and to be a good steward of those resources. And so my Environmental Compliance Protection Division takes that role very seriously. I have conservation law enforcement officers. I have people who are skilled and trained in both the environment and culture and history. And their job is to help manage that and to make sure we are protecting it as we should. And so it is gratifying as I move and work about the base to see some of the things environmentally that we get to do. Right now we have a thriving green turtle nesting population. We have over 50 identified nests. And so we work with the state to mark them, to make sure we are taking care of them until the nests are grown, mature. And we go through some of the other things that we have there. Our red-footed booby population that is on the range. The monk seals that we have that periodically haul out aboard our base. So there's a whole host of things that kind of come under that purview. And it is not just a responsibility, but it's a privilege to kind of be a steward and to do our part to make sure that we're protecting those.
Yes. I think another cool thing is that the families that are stationed here and on Marine Corps Base Hawaii at Kaneohe Bay, they volunteer. I've heard many stories of spouses and kids who live on base. They go out to get to experience that firsthand by volunteering with, whether it be, a conservancy group or even like DLNR. They get to go out there and help them and see and experience things they would normally never experience anywhere else. So thank you for taking care of the land and the ocean and the sacred creatures that we have here, the animals that we have here on your base.
No, it's important. And it's a unique opportunity for many military members. This may be their one exposure to Hawaii.
That's right.
And so, shame on us if we don't take advantage of it and expose them to all the goodness that is here, but also to educate them so that when they leave Hawaii, they are a better citizen of the globe than they were before they arrived. And so
good.
Whether it's working in the Nuapia Pond complex that we have contiguous with the base there, or volunteering with some of the other groups, Pai Pai Hiea in the area.
Yes.
It's just an opportunity that we should take advantage of. And so we work hard for both our single Marines, but also our families to get them involved in these projects. And through the process of working with some of these other groups, they get to partner and work side by side with some folks who have just such rich history in Native Hawaiian culture and to educate them. And it's just a really neat opportunity in a very natural environment to kind of educate and train.
I agree. Beautiful natural environment. So it must make training sometimes tricky because there are all of these pockets where we are trying to protect natural resources and animals, flora and fauna. So what makes Hawaii such a distinct and valuable environment for training and operations amidst all these sacred and very special things that are happening on island?
Yeah, and I would acknowledge that sometimes there is tension in the system between the things and the ways in which we need to train, but also our need to protect and preserve the environment. And I think when we're thoughtful and we're careful and we're methodical, we can manage that appropriately. And we can do both. They're not necessarily mutually exclusive. But it does require some thought and care. But it's the right thing to do. And so we take that role seriously. But our position here in Hawaii with respect to training is critical because when you look at the Indo-Pacific AOR and the areas where we find ourselves maybe having to deal with crisis, and again, that may not be conflict. That could be a climatological crisis. It could be responding to some environmental disaster or humanitarian crisis. That is replicated here in Hawaii. And so it is important that we train, as we say in the Marine Corps, train the way we're going to fight, but in this case, train the way we're going to respond. And so the environment here in Hawaii is very similar to those conditions that we would find further in the Indo-Pacific. And so the training is incredibly realistic. We can replicate some of the beaches and some of the implications to both man and machine with respect to sand, with respect to humidity, with respect to heat, with respect to jungle-like conditions. And also over on the island of Hawaii, being able to at Pohakaloa training area, right, at altitude and some of those other things. So the conditions are very realistic, and it helps us ensure that our force is postured and trained to the highest degree possible.
Yeah. What a blessing, and how cool is that there is a similar kind of environment where you can actually get in there, and so you know for sure that without a doubt, once you hit those conditions, you'll be good to go.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, okay. As you're conducting these trainings and all the things that happen on base, as you had mentioned, sometimes things can get a little tricky and contentious. Military-civilian relationships can be complex. What do you think people often misunderstand about the Marine Corps, Marines, their presence in Hawaii, and what do you wish more people would be open to and understand?
Well, again, as I said before, I think first it's fair to acknowledge that sometimes there's natural tension in the system, and Hawaii is beautiful, but it can be a challenging place to live. Housing is incredibly hard here.
Yes.
Traffic can be incredibly hard here. When we add tourism in the summer, just the population expands, and so access to resources can be a challenge. And so, I think intellectual honesty demands that we acknowledge some of the additional challenges that having additional military folks here bring, but there's also opportunity. And so, not just in some of the volunteering that we talked about earlier, but because of the military and the ability to partner with the state, we do have opportunities to protect and preserve the environment in ways that we wouldn't ordinarily. So in previous times, you and I have talked about the Manawili Project, which is an effort that the Army and Marine Corps are combining on along with the state to preserve almost 1,000 acres of the Manawili Valley. So we can turn that area into conservatorship and then have it preserved and used in a way that supports the interests of a variety of folks in Hawaii. And it's appropriate, and that helps preserve the flora and the fauna that we need to thrive so that we can continue to train in ways that don't impact the environment or to minimize the impact. And so the relationships matter, and sometimes being able to have honest conversations about what's important and to share those perspectives. I think that's really where we see success, when we can have honest conversation and even disagreement. And it's okay to have a different perspective, but then to figure out where's the middle ground, where's the thing that we agree on that we can work on, and then we start to work on some of these other areas. But the relationships matter. But you can't do that unless you're neighbors. And so, having those relationships, being out in the community, welcoming the community onto base when you have opportunities, to have that exchange of ideas and that conversation. I think that's critical to success.
Yes, let's touch on that. Speaking of opportunities to bring the public, non-military civilians on base, you have an event coming up later on this week, the air show. So many people remember and know that the Blue Angels will be here. But other than the Blue Angels, what kind of activities will be available for residents, families, kids? Tell us more about the air show.
Sure. So the air show is a great opportunity to kind of open the gates of the base and to invite the community in to see things that maybe they don't ordinarily get a chance to see. It's a great opportunity not just for them to see things, but for the Marine Corps and the other services to showcase what it is that these folks do for America and for the citizens. And so our men and women in uniform work really, really hard day in and day out. And so this is an opportunity now to showcase some of that. It's also an opportunity for the base. The things that we practice that went into preparing for this air show are the very same skill sets that we would use in responding to crisis. As we practice logistical planning and force flow and coordination with other services. And so this is just an opportunity, a culminating event that we get to invite the community to not just see the Blue Angels, but to see demonstrations from the Navy and the Marine Corps team, our Marine Air Ground Task Force demonstration, to see flying acts from other services, as well as some civilians that will be out there. We also have an opportunity for the keiki. So we have a hangar that will largely be focused on STEM.
Yes.
So it's an opportunity for them to get involved and see a little bit in science, technology, engineering, math, and just to expose them to some of those things. We have Civil Air Patrol. We'll have folks from the Hawaii National Guard that will be out there as well. So it's really an opportunity to be a neighbor, to invite our neighbors in, and to maybe just have an opportunity they don't normally get to see.
So cool. Last time I was there at the STEM tent, I thought that was so neat because all the kids got to come in there. There were little robotics displays where they got to actually try to program and play and actually do some scientific and like engineering type activities right then and there. So I thought that was really cool, as well as bringing in outside vendors for food and beverages. So this is really like a joint kind of an activity, because you mentioned that other folks from other branches of service will be there to kind of show examples of what they do too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've invited all the other services, and they are sending static displays of both equipment, but also aircraft, and they will also have personnel there. And so it's just really an opportunity for the military on Oahu to interact with our neighbors and to highlight and showcase the good work that go in and day out by the men and women in uniform, and to have conversations and to just share in an experience that may be unique for people who aren't military affiliated.
So good. So this is just one. I mean, I think this idea of being able to do joint exercises and joint types of events like this with the other branches of service is so amazing, but also unique. Or am I mistaken? In Hawaii, I'm not sure that there are many places where all branches of service work in such close proximity. And can you tell us more about those types of joint activities and exercises that y'all do?
Sure. And not only are we celebrating the air show at Kāne Bay, which has been 3 years since we've been able to host one, but this is also the 250th anniversary and birthday of the United States Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the history of the Marine Corps, but also the other services, for many years they operated almost independently. But as we've seen in more recent years, the need and the ability to operate as a joint force with unique capabilities that each service brings, to be able to combine them, is really a force multiplier. And it's one of those things, when done correctly, the sum is greater than the part, right?
Sure.
And so this air show is one of those opportunities where you will see acts working, operating, flying together from joint service components. We will have all the services represented there in various fashion. And so it's just a neat opportunity. And again, one more example of the ability of the United States and its armed forces to operate in a joint environment, which is critical to managing any crisis, because each service has unique capabilities, but it only works if you can blend those capabilities together seamlessly.
Let's talk about the Marine Corps' economic impact here in Hawaii. I saw a report somewhere saying that the military as a whole in the state of Hawaii makes up about 9.2% of our gross domestic GDP. So let's touch on that. It's a huge driving factor in the state of Hawaii. And how does the Marine Corps factor into the economic impact the military makes in the state of Hawaii?
Well, it's big, and there are some ongoing studies to update the numbers and to figure out what that total impact is. I think the last numbers that I saw showed that roughly Marine Corps Base Hawaii was about $1.5 billion.
That's the number I saw too.
Impact to the community.
Yes, sir.
And it's not just what the base provides, but it's the employees that we employ from the community. And we're blessed aboard Marine Corps Base Hawaii. We have employees now who are generational employees, and their parents and grandparents are affiliated with the base in some fashion. So they bring that lineage of expertise and experience and partnership with Marine Corps Base Hawaii. So it's the people that we employ. It's the contracts that we let for construction and to do the work. And to run this air show, for example, we've let numerous contracts to local vendors to help supply tents and food and chairs and gates and fences and those things that we need to do. So the impact to the community is real, but it's also the way that the folks who live here and are stationed here lead our lives. And we're out in the community. And I won't share here my love of some of the restaurants in town, but you know some of them. And,
Yes.
and so we get to participate and to be a real part of the community. And so there is a big economic impact to Hawaii for our presence.
Looking ahead beyond and planning ahead as these numbers come in with the economic impact, the opportunities to bring in local community, local people, local businesses, beyond the air show, what are some of the priorities for the Marine Corps Base Hawaii in the next few years?
Sure, and some of it is continuing the priorities that the Marine Corps has established with respect to force design and modernizing our force, and our infrastructure is a big piece of that. Some of it is also the current commandant's priorities with respect to quality of life and making sure that our facilities support the needs of the warfighter. And so probably the most real impact is in military construction, the things that we do. We were chatting earlier about the Makapo Elementary School that is still in work. Phase 1 should be complete by December. And that was a $146 million project that went to a local contractor. We have several barracks that are nearing completion, also a local contractor. Several more contracts that we were preparing to let for future barracks and hangars are also largely local contractors, right? So there's a very real opportunity not just to have a positive impact, but also to have our local neighbors working and participating and advancing and preparing this base for the future, whatever that looks like, and to make sure that we're postured and prepared for crisis in any form. And so it's exciting to be part of that.
And I'm sure for the local businesses, organizations, and the people, how many there? The Marine Corps base employs so many. As you mentioned, it's generational now. It's woven into the fabric of our lives at this point. So yes, it will continue to be a part of all of our stories, our life stories here in the state of Hawaii and on these islands. Okay, that's very good to know. For somebody, a young person in Hawaii who wants to explore careers in the Marine Corps, whether as enlisted or other support roles, how can they get involved?
Yeah, it's a number of ways. Obviously, we will certainly have folks at the air show who are willing to talk to anybody. But in our normal course of business, we have numerous units aboard Marine Corps Base Hawaii that adopt schools. And they stay with that school year in and year out, so they get to know the teachers and the students, and they go and they sometimes read to the students, or they participate in work bees at the school. They participate in the field days. We have several junior reserve officer training corps establishments here. And so that's an opportunity for high school students to be affiliated and to start to learn about the military and future careers and opportunities that they may want to pursue in the future. We also have opportunities, and we host aboard the base, where we bring in students to participate in various activities aboard the base. And whether we're hosting Hokulea and bringing in students to participate and to learn. But it's just an opportunity, although the focus of that is education on Hokulea and some of that history. We're hosting it aboard Marine Corps Base Hawaii.
Yes.
So there's an opportunity to interact and to see some of the things that we do in the military that may be of interest to them.
Yeah, so such a cool way to introduce the Marine Corps and the military to the local community, local kids. Tell me more about that Hokulea event. That was a part of FastPack, I believe. So y'all participated in that. And then a canoe regatta that happened recently. Tell us about those cultural activities that the Marine Corps participates in.
Yeah. We've actually hosted Hokulea on several occasions, but we certainly were part of the Festival of Arts in Pacific. And so we hosted all of VAS during the festival. And it was an opportunity to bring them aboard to do proper protocol and an opportunity to bring, again, the community in to witness that, and for the Marines who were there to be present and to learn and to be educated on that. And then the next day we launched them out for the first phase. And so it was just an opportunity, again, for Marine Corps Base Hawaii and aboard historic Makapu Peninsula to be in a place and in a sphere that would have been familiar to folks 200 and 300 years ago as they were operating and moving in the Hawaiian Islands. And so it was just an opportunity. We continue to look for those. So as we do have opportunity with the canoe regatta, which is fascinating for some Marines and their family members who've never seen that before, to host, outrigger canoes and to be able to see and to witness some of the protocol and some of the activities is just an opportunity. We look for those opportunities.
Okay, I love that you mentioned the protocol. The Native Hawaiian protocol is a unique experience for many people. And I believe that military protocol is also a unique experience. I heard about the Hawaiian flag being flown on base along with the United States flag. What level of protocol went into that? Can you tell us more about how that came about?
Sure. And I would say that kind of initiative started with Marine Corps Base Hawaii with Senator Favela. And it was a conversation that he and I had in an office call, and he had asked about the possibility of flying the Hawaii state flag aboard military installations. And kind of his question was, why isn't it done? And my response was, well, nobody's ever asked me. And so he said, I'm asking. Like, great. And so it took us a little bit of time. We had to make sure that we could comply with law and policy and that we could be consistent across the installations on Oahu. But at this point, the Hawaiian state flag is flown aboard all the installations. And it's just an opportunity, a visual reminder of the importance of the state and the importance of our history together, our shared history, both military and civilian, and that we need to be aligned and to be neighbors moving forward. And there will be issues that come up, and some of them may be a little contentious, and there will be alternate perspectives. But if we can be in the same room and have honest conversations as friends, we'll get to an appropriate solution that meets everyone's needs.
Honest conversation as friends. I like that. I hope that we're able to engage in more of those types of honest conversations with friends as we move forward. Colonel Beaven, what about for you? You've been all over the world, the Western and Eastern Hemisphere, and here you are in Hawaii. What does being here in Hawaii, what does that mean for you, and how is that special for you personally?
It's been enriching. And I had never been stationed here before I took command, although I had been stationed overseas in numerous places and numerous occasions. But Hawaii is unique. And as I started out earlier, it's unique in a variety of respects, culturally, historically, environmentally, both in Native Hawaiian tradition, but also in the military tradition. And so to be a part of that for a period of time has just been incredibly rewarding, and to be a steward of the environment and that culture and that history, and to work alongside the state to preserve it, but then also to make sure that we're postured for the future. And sometimes, as I said, there's also natural tension in that system. But it has just been an incredibly rewarding experience, and I think I'm a better person for it. I hope I'm a better person for it.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Colonel Beaven, thank you so much for joining us here on our podcast. We hope to continue working with Marine Corps Base Hawaii, Marine Marfor PAC here in the state of Hawaii, and look forward to hearing about all the great things that you will continue to do as you lead all of the Marines here in Hawaii, as you lead partnerships going on with the community members here, and into celebrating your 250th birthday later this year.
Yes,
and when will that be?
It will be 10 November.
10 November in November. And what kind of commemoration events are coming along the way?
Well, we, as normal tradition, we do a Marine Corps birthday ball. And so there are some other things coming to be maybe a little bit bigger than normal, but we always commemorate. It's part of the Marines tradition. Every year we commemorate our history, and just this year with the 250th be a little special.
Yeah, that's great. 250th. I believe the United States is celebrating its 250th, not this year.
As well, or a little earlier this year.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Colonel Beaven, thank you so much for taking on this huge endeavor of the air show that's coming up later this week. For folks who are interested and don't have base access, how can they plan on coming on base to see all the activities and engage and participate in the air show this weekend?
So the air show will be open to the public, and so our website will have a page that lists access to the base, and everyone will be able to come aboard and then access the flight line for the air show. There will, of course, be a list on the webpage of prohibited items, and so security posture is still important, but it is an event that is open to the public, and so we're looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Such a unique experience. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.